Would you say that even now Iowa is one larger part where you sell your products, or now with all the exports and the 30 states, is it a lesser, a smaller portion of the distribution?
Yeah, so it's interesting how that all works out. So we make different whiskeys for different consumers. For example, we make a bourbon at 86 proof, and that bourbon's more of an economical product. Still a great product that provides a lot of value, but it's affordable because it's only 86 proof, and what you're paying for is the alcohol. We make a barrel proof bourbon, which is 116 proof, and it's going to be a little bit more expensive on the shelf. It has a little bit more age to it, things of that nature. And then we make some fun single malts that I'll come back to here in a second. But all those are targeting different people. All of those products combined, we do still to this day sell most of them in the state of Iowa. So I want to give credit where credit is due. But the way that we distribute them is a little bit different. The 86 proof bourbon, we don't really distribute that to, say, like Texas and California and things of that nature, because that's not where people traditionally explore new brands of whiskey that they haven't had before. Where people explore a lot of the newer brands is at the higher proof stuff, because that's a different type of consumer who's going to explore new brands rather than being brand loyal to one. For example, you might have a dad or a mom, a grandpa, a grandma who traditionally buys just one brand of whiskey and they don't really explore other categories. The generations before us, they get very brand loyal. The younger generations, they like to try. If they're going to buy 20 different bottles of whiskey in a year, they're from 20 different distilleries. And so they're going to explore very differently than how consumers before us did. So we've had to really take that into consideration when it comes to distribution. So going full circle, the 86 proof bourbon, that is primarily sold in the state of Iowa because we know that we're going to have a lot of trouble selling that elsewhere. We also distribute the higher proof stuff here, but that is also something that we're very focused on spreading our footprint throughout the country. And then when you get into the single malts, that's about as decentralized as it gets. We sell smaller quantities of that. Instead of shipping pallets around the country, we ship layers of it around the country. And then we also sell a lot of it online. And we lean on things like social media to promote it so that people go from social media to online, and then it ships to their house. So they all have very different strategies, different footprints. But long story short, yes, the primary source is the state of Iowa. That is where we sell the most of our product.
Those are really interesting tendencies, and that's fascinating that to reach newer consumer base, it's the higher ticket products are the ones that can penetrate those new places. Did you notice any other tendencies like between the different states, or anything that some products are some styles are more popular somewhere?
Yeah, it's really complex and kind of hard to figure it all out. So in the different states, first of all, there's different laws that really complicate everything.
Oh, yeah.
There are 50 states with 50 sets of laws. And when you're distributing to them, you have to understand all those rules and regulations or you're going to get yourself in trouble. That's one element. But as far as the consumer goes, yeah, even that is very different. So I've had the pleasure over the last few years of traveling the country a lot promoting our brand. And I've found really unique pockets where they support certain types of whiskeys versus others. For example, in South Carolina, they're very interested in bottled in bond bourbon, which is a type of bourbon, just a certain designation. The criteria of it has to be at least 4 years old. All the barrels have to come from the same season. There's a few other rules. It has to be in a bonded warehouse. There's a few other rules and regulations for it. But in South Carolina, they really like the bottled in bond designation on their bourbon. Whereas if you go to a place like Missouri, they don't really care about that. The reason why, I have no idea. It's just kind of how it's all unfolded. When it comes to single malt, there are certain markets. The state of Texas, I was really surprised. About 6 months ago, I was down in Texas, and I was really assuming that would be a heavy bourbon market. And the people that were at the events that I was at, they were really interested in American single malt, which surprised me. But if you go to, say, Connecticut, they probably don't have as much interest in American single malt. So state by state, there are these different trends. And it's really hard to track them and to see where they're going to go because you don't even really know how they're developing. I mean, my best bet is that what's happening is these smaller distilleries, similar to Cedar Ridge, are opening up in each state, and they're kind of influencing the local consumers to like a certain style of whiskey. And then that trend grows even bigger and bigger, creating these pockets where people appreciate different things. So yeah, that's just one thing that I've noticed over the last couple of years as I've been traveling around the country more and more.
That's really interesting to see these differences. Thanks for watching this video. You can watch the full podcast episode by clicking here, or watch another interesting video by clicking here. Let's continue the discussion in the comment section and see you in the next one.